Welcome to the Marketing Mentor Podcast with Ilise Benun, founder of marketing-mentor.com and author of 7 books, including The Creative Professional's Guide to Money. Since 2008, Ilise has been interviewing her clients and other successful professional creatives who are doing what it takes to stop the feast or famine syndrome, get better clients, and command the fees they deserve, and sharing the nuts and bolts of what they've learned so you can do it too. You can find more at marketing-mentor.com. And now, here's Ilise Benun.
So this is Ilise Benun of marketing-mentor.com, and I am here today with Amy Posner. Amy, why don't you go ahead and just introduce yourself?
Hi, this is Amy, and I am of amyposner.com, and I am a marketing strategist and direct response copywriter.
Excellent. And the reason I wanted to interview you today is because you recently wrote to me that you had put together a marketing machine that achieved a 16% response and landed you some clients. In fact, one of those clients you said was your very best prospect on the list. So I just thought those were great results and wanted to share, as you have generously offered to do, exactly what you did so that perhaps other people could try it, because I'm always trying to really just show what is working. And this, whatever you're doing, is clearly working, Amy. So before we get to what did you do, tell me what was getting in your way before you decided to do this?
Well, ironically, as I think I told you, I've helped a lot of other people do this, to figure out what they needed to do to prospect and land new clients. And in addition to that, a lot of what I do for my clients is help them to build marketing funnels. And then I write all the pieces or create all the pieces that go into those funnels. So what was in my way, I think, was just fear and lack of confidence. And I'm not generally fearful or lacking in confidence, but I think we all get hit with that sometimes. And what I learned from talking to other people is it's pretty typical to come up against that, whatever your skill and expertise is, to come up against that when it comes to doing what you do for other people for yourself. So that's the bind I was in.
And what happened that you were able to get over it?
Grit and determination. I decided I just was not going to be satisfied with an excuse. If I didn't just take my own advice and prove to myself I could get it done, I just wasn't happy with where I was, and so it was just a decision to just be bold and go forward.
So it's as easy as just deciding.
It was, but it wasn't easy. Deciding wasn't easy, and taking the actions wasn't easy. But I decided not to let how I felt about it dictate what I did.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Let's just say that again. You decided not to let how you felt about it dictate what you did.
Right. Exactly.
Sounds like a tweet. We're going to have to tweet that.
Say that again?
That sounds like a tweet, a perfect tweet.
Oh, yeah. It is a good one. When I used to work as a coach, and what I always told people, people say, well, I hate that, or I don't want to do it. And I'd say, well, that's okay. Feel whatever you feel. Just don't let that get in the way of doing what you have to do. And,
exactly.
Like I said, I took my own advice.
Excellent. So let's hear what exactly you did. You listed out the steps for me, and I'm just going to go through each one and ask you to elaborate.
Sure.
So the first one was you revised your website. Tell us maybe a little bit about what the problem was and what you changed.
Well, I think the problem was probably in my head, but that can be real because it can stop you. And I felt like my site was outdated. I just didn't feel like it looked, when you went to it, I didn't feel like it had a contemporary sort of fresh look. And I felt like because I was putting myself out in public so visibly, I wanted to look really good. So what I did was, just updated the look. And in that process, I got a chance to, sort of revise my messaging and bring it up to speed. That's hard to do on something you've looked at a million times. When you have something new, it's easier to sort of create fresh messaging. So I did that and then took advantage of being able to update, what was happening behind the scenes or under the hood, as they like to say, with the site too, so that it was a little bit more SEO friendly, and I could do some behind the scenes work after I finish this campaign in order to, draw some more traffic to me organically.
And I could envision someone using this step as the obstacle also to the rest of them. So do you have any advice for if someone also feels like, well, they haven't been promoting themselves because their website is outdated and they know they need to do it and they probably do, but how do they do it and then move on to the next step?
Well, I think there's two choices. I think one is to not do it. I heard someone say a long time ago, and I'm sure you've heard this too. It's a lot. You can eat a lot better and live a lot better as a mediocre practitioner that promotes themselves than you can be to be the most sophisticated, accomplished practitioner who nobody knows about. And I say practitioner because I think that's true in any discipline or any field. And so some of this, I think, because sometimes people can't afford to update their website or there's something else in their way. So I think you can leave it alone and it probably won't matter. On the other hand, I think one of the best things to do is to make a plan, figure out what it needs to be done, what it will cost, and see if you can hand it off to somebody else to take care of that detail. That's what I did. I built my first website literally. This time I had somebody else do it, which meant that could happen behind the scenes while I was doing all of the next steps.
Excellent. All right, so then let's move on to that next step. You said you wrote a new lead magnet piece. For those who don't know what a lead magnet piece is, define that and then tell us what you did.
Okay. So a lead magnet piece is usually a giveaway, in the form of a free report or a video series or something that you do to give people value, and you usually give them that value in exchange for their contact information. So they're raising their hand and saying, yeah, I have an interest in that, and you give them something in exchange, and now you have two things have happened. One, you now have earned the right to be in communication with them, and you also have someone who has in effect raised their hand and said, you know what, I'm interested in those services. Maybe they're not ready to buy today, or maybe it'll be a long-term sort of prospect, but you're now developing people that have interest in what you have to offer.
And so what is your lead magnet?
Mine is a free report called Write Compelling Copy, Create Results-Driven Marketing. 7 keys to immediately improve your copy, engage your audience, and get results. And what I did, which is pretty typical, is you give people enough information so that if they want to do this themselves, they can. And sometimes it has the opposite and desired effect, which is they say, this is all well and good, but I see now that, this is out of my league, I'm going to hire you to do it.
Right. And is yours, a lot of people I know get caught up with, I can't write that many pages, or what can I come up with that's that long? Can't it just be a one-pager? It
could be. Absolutely, it can be. As long as it has real, genuine value to your audience. It doesn't matter. It could be half a page. It could be an infographic. It could be anything. It just needs to. It should do two things. I think it should provide real value for people, and it should also establish your authority or your expertise. And so, as short as that can be, yeah, I don't think length matters at all.
Excellent. Okay, and then step 3 is you said you created an info kit that goes along with the lead magnet. What's an info kit?
The info kit is a lot fancier than it sounds. It's really just some logistics, about hiring me. It's got client testimonials. I have a version with prices and without prices because some of the pricing I didn't want to be available to everybody. But so it's got client testimonials. It has, what I do, how I work, what my process is. So it's a little bit about how it would work if you worked with me. And it's real simple and straightforward.
And I imagine some of that is also on your website.
It is.
So sometimes it's just a question of taking what's on your website and putting it into a PDF that someone could have for themselves and or share with someone else.
Exactly. And it gives you another tangible piece that you can send that makes it easy for them. Like you said, then now they've got it. They don't have to go somewhere looking for it.
Excellent. All right, that was step 3. And then step 4, you wrote and sent a direct mail letter with a call to action, sending readers to a URL where they could get the info kit, and of course all the moving parts involved, the thank you pages, the emails, etc. That sounds like a big deal.
Actually it's not. It sounded like a big deal to me until I did it too. And so, the direct mail letter, obviously that's my expertise. That's what I do. So that was easy for me. It might not be as easy for somebody who's, in another field or another discipline, but, you can always have someone do it for you or write part of it and have someone fix it for you, whatever the case. So I had that, and I wrote that, and what I did is because I wanted to be able to measure response and know if somebody came from that particular letter, I bought another URL that just redirects to a page on my site that isn't published, which is dead simple. That may sound sophisticated, but it isn't. It's just, it's a private page that you can't access unless somebody's given you the address. And so that way I put exactly what I wanted on there. So if somebody read the letter and wanted to go get it, they'd get the further messaging I wanted, and I would know that they came from the letter that I sent. And then, if you do that, then, everyone's seen these. You may not think about it, but everyone's participated in this, where then if someone downloads something, you have to have some instructions. A page just flips and says, thank you, here's the download, or thank you, look out for the email, that sort of thing. And then you've got to have the email that you send to them saying, thanks for requesting, here's your link, or however you can make that process whatever you want it to be, but then you've got to have all the little pieces that complete the process.
Okay, good. And then you built a list of ideal candidates to mail to. Tell us about that. How big was your list? Where did you find them? How did you decide who are ideal candidates?
Well, this is the toughest part for me, frankly. And I think, you asked me earlier what got in my way of this. I think this is, to a large extent, what was in the way for me, was narrowing down who the ideal candidates were. And not because, the pool is so vast that I couldn't decide, although that is true. I just was really having a hard time figuring out, two things, who would be right for me? Who would want to hire me, number one, and who did I want to work for? Because I've got I'm kind of a generalist. I'm not a specialist in an industry niche. And so I really had to think about, who do I like to work with and kind of who's my ideal client and why, and that was tricky for me. That was probably the hardest part. And it was, the more I thought about it, the larger it loomed. And so that was difficult. But finally I narrowed it down to a couple of different things. And then I just started hunting around, Googling around, looking through things that I've saved over the years. And you know how that is. Once you start to search for one, then, everyone's competitors pop up and you can find a whole bunch of things. And I do a lot of writing in the information space, and I have a Dan Kennedy certification. So that was a natural pool of people for me, or people that would follow him and people who are in the information marketing space. And of those, what I wanted were people that were clients, that companies, clients, individuals, whatever, who were big enough and produced enough content that, that they might need somebody either frequently or on an ongoing basis. So those were some of the parameters I used. And I did not, my total mailing was only to 33 people so far.
Okay, that was my next question. How many?
So
33 people, you said.
Mm-hmm.
So we're talking about, if pulling the list together is a challenge, I think one of the things that does make it easier is we're not looking for thousands of people here. We're just looking for the best ideal client.
Yeah, and didn't, and I think, part of what happens, I think, is as you start doing this, you narrow it down because you force yourself to go through the process of deciding who these people are. And so while maybe there are 100 of them, and maybe you want to be in touch with 100 over time or over the course of a year or whatever it is, you don't need that many to start. And I didn't know. I wanted to send out a small batch because what if it didn't work? Right. Then I wanted to go back and tweak something, and I didn't want to, go to the time and expense of sending out 100 and then finding out, something in there wasn't right.
So the next step, once you had your list together, was step 6. You enclosed a chocolate bar with a custom wrapper with your logo picture contact info and specialties listed inside a large padded envelope with some cool stamps, all hand addressed.
So
tell us about that.
So this is, this comes from the, experience in direct mail, and it's something that we call lumpy mail. And what that means is it's something that has hand feel. If it's an envelope and you can feel that there's something in it, then you open it. You want to know what it is. And so that's an old direct marketing trick that goes back decades. And I thought for a while about, what was it I was going to put in? And I have a collection of all kinds of things that I'd like to try eventually, and I've used with clients like pill bottles and bank bags and shredded money. I mean, there's all kinds of fun things you can do. But somehow I don't know, I got this idea of a chocolate bar, and I really liked it because I like chocolate, and I just thought it would be fun. And I thought it might be something that people would keep around, because that's the other nice thing is if you have something, I mean, they might eat it, but they might like the wrapper and keep it around, is what I thought. So I landed on that idea. And a lot of people have commented on it, and it was good because it allowed me then, I sent a follow-up postcard to the letter, and it allowed me to, I forget what the headline was exactly, but it was something like, did you bite on the chocolate but not on my info kit? So that gave me a little clever theme for the follow-up too.
And you said that's when the responses came. So people didn't respond to the chocolate, but they responded to the follow-up postcard.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's interesting with that, because often when we do direct mail, we do a 3-step process where we'll send 3 different things, and it can be a different sequence and different combination of things. But what happens often is, someone might keep the letter, but they don't act on it, and then they get the postcard, and they're like, oh, right. I wanted to do something about that, and then they do. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they were responding to the postcard or the postcard triggered them to look again at the letter. But what I do know is the responses came after the postcards arrived. So, and what was interesting is I was a little disappointed. I didn't get any immediate response to the letter. And immediate, I mean, it'd been like a week or 10 days because I mailed them all over the country. So, you have to allow for things to arrive. And I was like, maybe this doesn't work. Well, I'm going to do what you do because this is what I do. And I'll send out the next piece. And then sure enough, I got a response. And the exciting thing, I think, it's always fun when you do a campaign, when you get the first response, because now you know it works. So now it's a question of how well will it work and how can you scale it.
And how did those responses come to you? Did people email you, pick up the phone? What did they do?
They picked up the phone. Mm-hmm. Yeah. One guy picked up the phone and said, here's what I want you to do for me. And then another one was more of an exploratory conversation and became a client. And I've got some other people. I've got two clients and quite some good income immediately from those two, and I'm in conversation with 3 other people too. So
beautiful. Okay, and then so that's where you are in the process right now, right? And your next step is to send that 3rd follow-up. What is that going to be?
I think I'll send another postcard. So as you can see, I've entered into this without knowing exactly what I'm going to do, and I just want to say, because I think it might be helpful for people. I think you can enter this process. It depends, I guess, how you're wired. I'm somebody who sort of does and figures out as I'm going. I know some people like to lay it all out first, but I don't think you have to have it all laid out and know every piece. You just need to know which order, so you know what things to start when. In other words, you have to do the website and work on the things that are going to take longer while you're doing some of the other bits that take less time, so that it all gets done in an orderly manner. But I don't think you have to have it all, or have it all organized, or know what you're going to do. I mean, I think you should let that get in your way.
I definitely agree with that. One thing I find interesting, Amy, is that there's no phone or email yet as part of this process. Is that deliberate, or is that maybe coming up?
What do you mean?
Meaning that you're not emailing them, right?
You mean the non-responders?
Yes.
I might, and I haven't decided what I'll do. I think what I may do is 3 touches and then start the whole process over again, and maybe I'll touch him with people who didn't respond, like in 4 months or 6 months, something like that. I'm not. I mean, I might. I mean, that's not a bad idea. To touch in with them and be in touch that way because it's fast and it's cheap.
Or even the phone, I would think. Would you think about doing a follow-up call?
No, that's what I was thinking of, the phone. When I said fast and cheap, I meant the phone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could email, but I think the phone is bolder.
I agree with that.
And
you could say, that chocolate must be melted by now.
Exactly.
Well, good. Okay. I think what you've laid out here makes a lot of sense, and I'm hoping people will try it or do their version of it. Is there anything else you would want to say or warn people of or encourage them to do before we sign off?
I think that the best piece of advice in any of this is prospecting is that it's a process and not an event. And so be willing to experiment and find something that works and be willing to put yourself out there. I mean, I think it takes a little bit of courage and you feel a little bit vulnerable. But you feel like that anyway. If you're needing business, those are the shoes you're standing in. So you might as well take a risk and be bold about it. And I think that's the breakthrough moment. And again, you don't have to feel confident about it. You don't have to feel any way about it. You just have to do what you need to do and put the other stuff behind. So that's several pieces of advice, but that's what I would take away from this.
Excellent. Thank you. Give your web address so people can go find you if they want to.
Sure. It's my name. It's Amy Posner, so AMYPOSNER.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Amy, for taking the time and sharing what you're learning. My name is Ilise Benun from marketing-mentor.com, and if you're listening and haven't signed up for my quick tips for Marketing Mentor, I hope you will. And also, I do have a new coaching program, and one of the modules is reach out to your ideal client. So if you need help putting this process that Amy just outlined in place, I would be happy to help you. So just reach out to me about that. And thanks again, Amy, and we will talk again soon.
Great. Thank you, Ilise. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. Now go try out what you've learned. If you like what you hear, you can go to marketing-mentor.com and sign up for Ilise's quick tips from Marketing Mentor and her free 30-minute mentoring session to get your burning questions answered. Check out what's on sale in the Marketing Mentor shop, like the Pick a Niche Kit, proposal bundles for designers and copywriters, and the 30 Minutes a Day marketing plan. Ilise is also the host of the How Design Live podcast, a programming partner for How Design Live, the largest design conference, and you can learn all about that at howdesignlive.com. Until next time.